Well, hello there. Welcome again to So Into Bourbon. I'm Glenn. This is Charlie. Charlie, why don't you tell them what we're going to do tonight?
Super excited tonight. We actually have something that's new and allocated and exciting and taking the bourbon world by storm. It's Old Forester 1924, 10 years old.
Hot off the presses.
Hot.
All right, so Old Forester 1924. This is a brand new release. Just picked it up from the distillery yesterday. So let's tell them what's unique about this particular release.
Well, everything. Like, this is a huge deal for Old Forester for a couple of reasons. So first, without knowing anything else about it, right there on the front, it says 10 years old.
Yeah.
We're in some rarefied air for Old Forester, and we're not talking about President's Choice or birthday bourbon. This is a new part of the whiskeyrow collection. So the 1910, the 1897, all those ones that are a staple in your liquor store, this is a new addition to that, or so they say.
Absolutely, and what's maybe even a bigger deal is this is a different mash bill than Old Forester's standard mash bill. If you know anything about Old Forester, that's something that they are pretty particular about, is they use one mash bill for their bourbon, and they have a different one for the rye, but
the rye is relatively new. Like,
right.
this is a huge deal for them because, as Glenn said, and if you've watched our Old Forester videos, which you should, the awesome thing about Old Forester is it's one mash bill. So when you get those different expressions, and they have different flavors and different experience and different proofs, you're truly tasting the difference that that barrel makes and the proof of that bourbon. So it's the reason that we love bourbon. You take a controlled substance that is the same all the time, you put it in essentially a big chunk of wood, and magic happens. And now they're throwing it all away for a new mash bill. They've totally changed it. Tell them what they did, Glenn.
Yeah, so it's not that big of a change. So their standard mash bill is 72% corn, 18% rye, 10% malted barley. This one is 79% corn, 11% rye, and 10% malted barley. So no change on the barley, a little higher corn, lower rye mash bill.
So what should that mean for us? Should mean
you would think it would be a little bit sweeter, a little less spice. Mm-hmm. Maybe that balances out the extra age in the barrel.
That's exactly what I was going to say. So now we get to see what the effect is on when we factor in a higher corn but an older bourbon. I am really excited. Shall we nose?
We shall. And we'll talk about the reason for this after we...
Yeah, let's give the people what they want, right? And by people, I mean me. Real nice color to it.
Your decent amber color, which you would expect from a 100.
Not a lot of cling to the glass.
No. It's pretty, it doesn't look super viscous.
All right, let's do some
nose
nosing.
There's that. It's got that familiar Old Forester note to it.
But it is definitely, and this is the thing of when you're nosing, and especially when you're tasting, the effect that your mind has on your palate and your nose is it smells familiar. That's the first thing I thought of, but sweeter. To me, it has a almost a syrupy sweetness, like almost like not a maple syrup, but almost like a sorghum or a molasses sweetness kind of to it.
Yeah, so I would agree. It's got that familiar Old Forester, but it doesn't have that. It's not as strong with the cola note that I usually get on Old Forester, and maybe it has something to do with the lower rye.
Yeah, maybe not as much sizzle.
I don't know. I'm ready to taste it.
Cheers.
Cheers.
1924.
So it's not quite as sweet as I expected. I'm really getting the bitter chocolate note. That's my first impression. Give me your first impression.
Same. I was expecting, I mean, there is some sweet corn sweetness there, but it's very mellow on the front. Like it's there, not overpowering. You're immediately hit with dark chocolate, almost a tobacco kind of flavor to it, like a very rich kind of dark chocolate, tobacco. It's got a little smokiness to it, and then the oak kind of takes over. You're left with that kind of tannic. There's a little bit of sweetness that kind of maintains through just enough that it kind of keeps you like, oh, okay. But
it's got a really long finish.
A really long finish. And it's a really nice oak to it. And you're just kind of left with that classic bourbon, just oaky 10-year goodness.
All of the things that you expect from a bourbon, the chocolate notes, the caramel, the vanillas, the oak. I feel like they all come together. I feel like this is a really balanced palate.
I was going to say the same. I feel like it takes you on a nice ride from start to finish. It's very nice on the front. You get a little sweetness. Your mid palate. The funny thing about it is, and I know this is only an 11% rye, I still get a nice little rye tingle right in mid palate of my tongue. And it doesn't hang around for a long time, but it's there for sure.
It's there.
And then you're left with this really nice char oak. I'm getting quite a bit of smokiness to it as well.
Smoky campfire.
Yep.
Kind of reminds you of cooking s'mores on a campfire.
Yep.
I just got a little bit of a grape note on the tail end of my last sip, which is interesting.
The one thing I haven't gotten in this is much fruit. I don't get much fruit at all. It's funny you say grape because I was just getting ready to say I haven't gotten any fruit. It's all
which is weird.
Sweet burnt sugar.
It just kind of came out of nowhere as you were talking. But I love the mouthfeel on this. When we were looking at it, it didn't look like it was going to have a great mouthfeel to it. But
I really like this,
and
I think that this is what you want out of a 10-year-old bourbon. You know, Mashbill, the distiller, take all of that out, and we're to the point in our bourbon economy that
bourbon economy.
There are very few 10-year-old age-stated bourbons out there, and when you find them, they're typically very expensive. So let's get into more about this and what all. So starting out, what did we pay for this bottle?
$115
plus tax.
Plus tax, $121 out the door in Kentucky.
Yep.
You know, people are going to complain about another $100 plus bottle, which I get it.
Can I go on a rant?
Go on a rant.
Quick rant. Someone commented on our YouTube page yesterday when we posted a little short, hey, I can't, it's pretty bold of them to do a 10-year $100 plus bottle. Yeah, and unless you've been living under a rock, that's the way the wind is blowing. Henry McKenna, 10-year bottled in bond, used to be $30. Now, when you can find it, it's $70.
Right.
Eagle Rare, 10-year. When you can find it, it's $40. It sells on secondary for $80, $90, $100. Russell's Reserve 10-year single barrels sell regularly for $80 plus. So there's not a ton of 10-year-old bourbon out there, and at this point in the game, you have to expect to pay a premium for it. End of rant.
Well, in particular, go find another 10-year-old Old Forester product.
You're going to spend a lot more than 10 because, and that's a great point too. Most Old Forester single barrels are 4 to 6 years old, and most of them tend to be in that 4.5, 5-year-old. If you do any research on the single barrels, whether it's barrel proof, the ryes, any of those are 4 to 6 years old. So 10 years is a big stretch.
And we've talked about this before. Some of the older aged bourbon from Old Forester, we haven't really enjoyed as much as some of the younger stuff.
That is 100% accurate. And that's why I was very pleasantly surprised with this one, because I feel like this has a lot of really great character. Like I said, from start to finish, it's a really enjoyable pour.
I think that's one that, gosh, most bourbon lovers should enjoy.
Should. I mean, proof perfect, 100 proof. It's good enough to, it's not proofy and overproof that you can drink it neat. If you wanted to throw it over a cube, absolutely. If you wanted to pour it in a cocktail, it's going to stand up. You're still going to get that bourbon flavor. So
let's real quick, before we go any further, let's talk about the why of this product.
Yeah.
So it's the next in line of the whiskeyrow series. So this was meant to celebrate the 100th anniversary of when Prohibition came along. A lot of other distilleries were shut down. Old Forester was one of a few who existed before Prohibition, during, and after, because they had a medicinal license so they could continue to make bourbon.
Prescribed bourbon.
Yes.
God bless America.
They went out and bought a lot of the stock of some of the other distillers that shut down and put Old Forester's name on it. So that's what this is meant to commemorate or celebrate.
And Glenn and I were talking about this earlier today. It's really what's cool about bourbon, and it's hard not to be romantic about bourbon and to appreciate what it is. This is a 10-year age stated new mash bill from Old Forester. This is not something that they're just like coming up with on a whim. This was developed way back in 2014 and probably earlier than that. So this is 10 years in the making minimum to bring this offering to market today.
Yeah, and we were talking about that earlier. We'd love to know the story behind that. Is that exactly how this was planned out? Was this planned 10 years ago to be this particular product, or were they experimenting with a new mash bill?
Were they sourcing bourbon for someone else?
Were they sourcing bourbon?
There's no telling, but either way, no matter what the answer is, it's led us to this beautiful purple labeled member of the Whiskeyrow series.
You know,
I do know.
We need to write a song.
We should.
It's called "It's Hard Not to Be Romantic About Bourbon."
It's hard not to be romantic about bourbon. You know what we should do?
Do we have any musicians in the audience?
No.
Here's your cue.
Write a song. You know what I was thinking about on this, though, is we love Old Forester. Mm-hmm. We have done many episodes. You should go back and watch. Make sure you subscribe on the YouTube channel. And if you haven't, shame on you. One of our favorites, everyday drinkers, is Old Forester 100 proof.
Yes.
So I thought, what if we did a very simple comparison, 10-year-old 100 proof versus not 10-year-old.
Great idea, because this is $115 a bottle. This is...
I paid $28.
$28.
And this is one of my favorites. It's excellent. So what if we did a little side-by-side action?
Do it. Now this is, yes, 100 proof. It's not 10 years old.
It's not 10 years old.
And it's their original mash bill, so
Correct.
we know we're not comparing apples to apples, but just for a standpoint of, hey, is it worth going out and buying this bottle for $115? Or is the regular Old Forester 100 proof just as good?
Well,
we're going to find out.
Let me tell you, we know this is not scientific, but we also know, just being realistic, if you're watching this, the chances of you walking into your local liquor store or department store or wherever and finding a bottle of 1924 are probably low, at least right now, in January 2024. But probably pretty high finding one of those. So if you want to get the Old Fo 100 experience, give this little guy a try.
Absolutely.
So what do you think? Go right into the hundo, or gonna go side by side?
They're pretty much same color, aren't they?
They're pretty much the exact same color.
The 10-year maybe just a shade
maybe
darker, but
maybe pretty close.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Now the nose is different.
Oh yeah.
See, now I get
so smoky, campfire,
smoky and sweet.
Graham cracker.
Yeah, I was gonna say graham cracker and cinnamon.
Holy
now.
Crap!
What the heck
That's
happened?
changed so much just in the time.
Oh my gosh! Cancel the episode.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna smell this.
So when you compare, and maybe 10 minutes after we let this sit out, it's gonna change a little bit too. But from the start, nose to nose, the 1924.
The 1924 is slightly more complex.
Yes.
Now, out of the 100 proof Old Fo, I just get a little bit of sugar, a little bit of sweet corn.
Definitely has a sweeter nose.
Yeah.
Not a weird. I don't know why I'm getting grape today, but I'm getting some grape on the nose here. So
now maybe. I do get a little more fruit, a little more. What would we call that? I don't know about grape.
Oh, a little bit more of that.
There's a little fruitiness to it.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Let's taste.
100 proof. I do love that pour.
I do too. It's a great pour. First thing I notice is a little bit more rye spice.
Yep, 100%. It is interesting though that I get, and I know we had just drank this and our palates are probably pretty woke up from that. I get a lot more oak character out of that, especially on the finish. But rye spice up front, sweet, and it's not overly complex, but it's everything you want out of a daily drinker. Is there's just enough flavor there to keep you interested from start to finish. Sweet on the front, a little spicy, nice little oaky finish, and it's
a little chocolate on the finish.
Yeah, an incredibly sippable 100 proof bourbon as well. Like it's a crushable bottle. If you'll excuse me, I'm going to go back to the 1924 now. I cannot get over how much that nose has changed.
It has
unbelievable.
completely changed.
Because I was not getting any of that.
And I love this. So a lot of people don't like that campfire smell. They don't like that graham cracker note. I do. I love it. Any bourbon that you put in front of me that I can get that note out of, I'm probably going to like it.
Definitely a difference on the mouthfeel. After having this one, the 100 proof, I feel like this one is much more refined now. Maybe even a little softer.
I think so.
I'm getting all the same characters, but now it's
more well-rounded.
Yep. Really nice.
And
both are really good pours.
Depth of flavor, right?
Yep.
It's and it's hard to define that, but it definitely has. The 1924 has more depth of flavor. Both good pours.
Yep.
What do you think? Is it worth the $115 for people out there who may be wondering whether to pull the trigger on it?
Yes.
I would agree.
And it's because of what you're saying, the depth of flavor. And let's go in really quickly to that. We have said in many of our episodes, it's in our bio, we are not professionals. Shocker. We are not bourbon stewards. We are not sommeliers on the bourbon side. We do the best we can to describe what stuff tastes to you, so you know, is it worth buying, in our opinion. When we say depth of flavor, that means that bottle has a lot of flavor. It packs a lot of punch. It's nuanced. It has flavor on the front and mid palate and a finish. And that's what's fun about great bottles is they challenge your palate and you get different smells, different nose as you revisit it. That is absolutely a bottle worth the $100 plus price point because it checks all those boxes.
Checks all the boxes. And so let's talk about this in comparison to another 100 proof kind of hyper-aged bourbon that was released recently, Knob Creek 18. I mean, the Knob Creek 18 is $70 more than this, and in my opinion, doesn't even hold a candle.
I feel like we pick on that Knob Creek 18-year a lot.
If you're going to put yourself out there at that price range, then you open yourself up to a lot of praise and a lot of criticism.
Yep. I will agree wholeheartedly with you. This is not to throw Knob Creek under the bus, although I love doing it. But
Not at all. I'm a Knob Creek fan.
I know, and that's why I find it interesting you're doing this. But I agree wholeheartedly with you. Is you want to be rewarded with when you spend your hard-earned dollar on a special bottle, which this is a special bottle. You want to be rewarded, and that is a bottle that rewards.
I would agree, 100%. Shall we rate it?
Rate it.
Oh, you want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? I'm going to give it that an 8. I think it's worthy of an 8.
I will. Oh, man. I was going to go slightly below. Like I was thinking 7.875, but I really enjoy that. And I don't think for a 10-year-old Old Forester product that $100 is out of the realm of craziness. Let's be honest. They just released how old was the special edition? The single barrel?
What was it? Was it 15?
It may have only
13.
been 13 or 12.
Yeah.
Now, I know it was single barrel and super limited release. That was $2,500.
Right.
They could have charged more for this. So I will also agree. I will give that a solid 8. I think that's an excellent pour. I really like that.
Yeah, and I think it's very much worthy of being added to the whiskeyrow lineup with some of the others that we really love. The Old Forester 1910, which is fantastic. The 1920, which is very popular.
1897 original batch, the bottled and bond one, which I can't remember which one it was. But anyways, yes, and I hope that this becomes as common on shelves as 1910 is, because
that would be nice.
That would be really nice. I know it's $100, but it's nice to have a special bottle on the bar every once in a while when you want it.
Absolutely. Charlie,
Glenn.
do we have anything more on this one?
Not on this one, but I do want to tell the people what to do.
Tell them.
You got to go on YouTube. You're already there. You're watching us, and you got to subscribe. Like the video. Subscribe.
Please
subscribe
do.
to us.
Also, check us out on Instagram at So Into Bourbon, and on TikTok, Whiskey Realtor.
And most importantly, keep your wallets loose.
And your bungholes tight.
Good night, everybody.
Peace out.